Design can mean so many things to so many people, different things at different times. And in the automotive context, it can be functionality, it can be engineering, it can, of course, be about stunning visual design and so much more. And then, if you look in the context of everything that's all set to happen with future looking vehicles that are coming in, I am talking about electric vehicles in particular, well, then there's a whole new twist on everything that can be done in the context of design. And there is one such product that's all set to debut here. It is the Jaguar I-PACE. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Patankar, Editor-in-Chief at Carandbike and Executive Director at the World Car Awards. And I'm thrilled to tell you the I-PACE is all set for its India debut. Why that's exciting is because, well, the car itself is very exciting. Having spent a lot of time driving it, I can tell you that myself. And it also represents a lot in the realm of design. It broke new ground. It also was World Car Design of the Year, World Car of the Year. And I can't wait to get my hands back on it. But let's talk about that design context now with Design Director at Jaguar Cars, Julian Thomson, who's joining me now.
Good morning, Siddharth.
Julian, great to see you, and always a pleasure. And, this is the second time now I have the chance to do something virtually with you. So hopefully very soon in person as well. But yes, the I-PACE, I mean, what a car it's been for you as a brand, as a company, for you individually and your team, and then for all of us, who've been at the other end of it.
Yeah, no, it's been a fantastic experience for us, really. And I think, in my career, you don't see the automotive world just changing so quickly as it has over the last few years, And over the years, cars have, certainly in my career, they've just more or less been the same, an engine in the front, a bonnet, and, and an axle maybe, driving at the rear. And, the profile's been the same, and you've matured this concept over and over again. And I guess the great thing about I-PACE and vehicles like it gives you a chance to really just examine your skills, your talents of your team, and just start from scratch, and really think about, okay, what are we trying to do here? What's this all about? We know electric is sweeping across the world for good reason, and we then have to marry that up with being a Jaguar. Jaguars are known for having long bonnets, big noisy engines, and spinning our rear wheels, but suddenly that's turned on its head. And how you bring that special quality of Jaguar back into a totally different type of product. So it was very, very exciting for us when we started this project out.
I actually would love to take you right back to that start, because the good thing here, I know from your perspective, would have been at the time for you and the team, the fact that it's a clean sheet of paper. You're not sort of confined by the regular car sort of boundaries in that sense. But that's also what must have made it more daunting. So take us back to that. How did the whole project start on paper for you?
Yeah, I mean, we started the project, maybe 5-6 years ago, and I guess what's interesting is, that people's perception of electric cars was very different even back then. People were uncertain about them. Think, well, are people actually going to want to buy these things? How much will they pay for them? Can they charge them? What would they drive like? Are they really going to take over the world? Is it just a fad? Was it a technology which had a limited amount of life before something else came along? All these questions were there, starting out. And that's what made it so interesting. We knew that because of sustainability being such a key part of particularly young people's lives and what was going on, and we all feel that we want to do something which is more responsible for the planet, and want to do these cleaner cars, particularly for urban environments. We all wanted to do something. We were very, very keen to be part of that. And Jaguar, of course, is known for innovation. For all its years, its most pivotal cars have been the ones which really changed the marketplace, done different things like the E-Type, the XJ, the Mark II. They all invented new segments out there. So we weren't going to copy someone else's car. And back then, the real electric cars were, Teslas that were out there, obviously. There wasn't an awful lot happening. And people are also thinking about, if we do an electric car, Do we adapt an existing vehicle, or do we do something completely different? And we were lucky enough that, as a group of people in engineering and our commercial divisions, we decided that we wanted to do a completely fresh, ground-up approach, which gave us the greatest amount of freedom possible, really. So we could do everything. We could decide, what type of car it was, what sort of layout it should be. You don't often get that a project where there's no residue. There's nothing you have to adopt. You can actually do a clean sheet of paper. It's a fantastic opportunity for us. And then we looked at the type of vehicles, really, and electric cars, first of all, they need to be aerodynamic, because range is everything. Yeah. Aerodynamics is a very, very important part of that. And so, as well as being aerodynamic, you want a very sort of short, a very low cross-sectional area as well. So you want a car which is reasonably low and compact. But at the same time, Jaguar had started to do some good forays into the SUV market, and although the first generation of electric cars were mainly sedans, we all know how, SUV market was really taking off across the world, And so we thought, well, we could take these two huge, new trends in the marketplace, which are both electric and SUV, and combine them. We should have a real winner, So that's what we decided to do an SUV. But then again, when we said SUV, it's the lowest, sleekest, prettiest, most sporty SUV as well, because it has to be, because it's a Jaguar. And then we set out with our engineers really to really think about, how this car could look and how it could be. And I guess the next thing is really with a Jaguar, a Jaguar always needs to reflect what's underneath the skin in a very honest fashion. Yeah. So Jaguar E-Type looks like a Jaguar E-Type. It's got a long bonnet because it's got a big, long engine in it, and that's how it is. And I'm a great believer that the best designed products should be done very much hand in hand with engineering, with packaging, that you don't really know, you can't really see where the engineering stops and the design starts, if you like. They should be seamless. The best products, be it cars or motorcycles or even buildings, they have that relationship where one doesn't try and hide the other. And so we wanted to make sure that we set out this with the best possible electric platform, and that the skin on top of the car very much reflected that intent, what we're trying to do.
Lots that sort of pops into my head straight away from everything that you said. But the first thing I have to ask you is that you mentioned about how it had to be pretty. You also mentioned some of those iconic cars from your heritage, which again sort of almost compels you to ensure that any new Jaguar has to be really beautiful. In the context of going electric, did that put extra pressure on you in a sense?
Well, we're designers, we set out to make sure that whatever we do is beautiful, and it is, genuinely a Jaguar. And I guess the thing that links all our cars together is not necessarily the long bonnets or the mouths or the headlights or anything like that. It is this sense of balance and proportion. We always talk about that. That's what's most important to us, that the car is well proportioned. So with the I-PACE, we decided to do a very, very honest reflection of the engineering. So we didn't try to do a long bonnet because there's no engine in the car. Why do you need a bonnet? Also the car has a very, very long couple. That means to say the distance between the front row seats, the second row of seats is very, very long. And so we wanted to take advantage of that. And so our job then is that's our sort of building blocks, to put a beautiful skin on top of it. Now, having said all those things, it's very, very important, as I said before, that Jaguar has great proportions. So for our I-PACE, we worked with the engineering team to make sure we had the best proportions for that type of car. That is to say, the car was as low as we could possibly get it. It had a very, very long wheelbase by virtue of its battery. But then we have very, very big wheels which are placed right at each corners. The stance of the car, the wheels are pushed right out to the side of the car. The windscreen is very raked and very, very dramatic. It has a very, very nice tapered brand shape. So all of these things, these are the common elements which are in all our cars, which all create that sense of beauty in the car. And so how that car is, that dramatic profile, the very steeply raked windscreens, that proportion, that's your building blocks, and that's right. And from on then you work out, once you've got your proportions right, then it's important to get the surfaces nice and clean and pure. And then, in terms of how many lines you need in that car, you don't need very many, because if you get the basic ingredients right, you can do a good looking car.
And it was unmistakably a Jaguar. I mean, I think you had the show car earlier, and then you had the production version, and everybody, I think, unanimously said that. You mentioned some of the advantages. I mean, the longer wheelbase, the fact that you get this really roomy cabin, and yet we keep the overall footprint kind of tight and compact. The wheels pushed out, big wheels. That also gives you a tremendous amount of off-roading and rough road capability.
Yeah.
Again, these are areas which took people by surprise when they saw the actual product. How important was it for you to keep that at the center of the whole design theme?
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to this thing about Jaguars being very honest and having this purity and this link of engineering. You know, um, we do, when we're designing a car, we're very concerned about within the overall profile of the car where the wheels sit and to give a sense of movement. When you do an electric car, the battery is key to everything. I think normally when you design a petrol car, the engine, where the engine is, how big it is, and all that, that's your first building block, and then you work on the occupants. But an electric car, it's all about that battery. The longer the battery, how it is, the better the bigger the battery, the better the range. But it's also very important to us that we have a relatively thin battery as well, so we can keep the car very low and optimize aerodynamics. So that sets up your wheelbase. So these cars have very, very long wheelbases. Electric cars will have long wheelbases in the future. But to offset in that, you don't want the car to look like a long sausage. You want it to look, still pretty compact. So you have to offset that dimension with the big wheels, and that's very, very important. And the car it's not a traditional SUV. It's probably more of a crossover, but it has this nice feeling that it doesn't really it defines its own category, if you like. It's there isn't an SUV like it, there isn't a car like it. It's somewhere in between. And a lot of people say it's a bit like a sports car, and certainly I know you've driven the car. When you drive it drives in a very, very sporty, enjoyable manner as well.
I got a chance to drive it on the track. I got a chance to drive it off the road, across a stream bed, the works, I mean, really sort of push it hard, and really did come away surprised on everything that it could do. But Julian, you at the time, of course, when you were bringing all of this together, it was focused on this product. But very quickly, I think you all also knew, given the strategy of the company and where things were going, it creates a lot of learnings for what's going to come. I mean, yes, we've had the announcement now about, from a certain date onwards, everything Jaguar will be only electric. In that context, how does this set you up? Everything that you've learned from the I-PACE, and in terms of how you can deploy that into future products.
Yeah, I think we've had to very much examine and cross-check, what is the driving experience of driving an electric Jaguar. It's very easy to get very romantic about the view of Jaguar. That it smells of oil. It makes fantastic noise. You look at it over a long bonnet. All these things. The experience has always been a very, very rich experience. A very thing. Something that really connects with your heart. And I think with an electric car, we've had to re-examine what that means. Now, some bits fall into place really easily. Electric cars are very, very quiet and very, very refined. So the luxury arm of Jaguar is about this sort of connection between luxury and performance. In terms of luxury, you can create cars with a great deal of refinement. You can design really, really, quiet, smooth cars. Jaguars have always been about also having this sense of, iron fist and a velvet glove. They've always been about this effortless power. So we're never about cars which scream along and you really have to thrash them to get the most out of them. The power is, in a very understated, almost British manner, always there when you need it. You just touch the throttle and this thing whooshes forward into the horizon. And that's what electric cars are so good at. They're so good at this seamless power, such smooth power, as much acceleration as you need. They're very, very good for that. So refinement, effortless power, and quietness are all done, naturally from electric cars. The bit which is more interesting is, do you need to hear that noise? Do you need a little click of the gear lever? Do you need that, how do you get that interaction, And that's something we're very, very keen to work on, to see how you get that driving enjoyment back into electric cars. And that's something we're still working on to try and work out, what is that experience. When we do the sports cars of tomorrow, how will they be? If they don't smell of oil, they don't make loads of noise, and you can't change gears, how do you get that visceral excitement again? And so that's something we're very, very keen to do. The I-PACE starts to indicate, how that is. It has that instant power. It has that really terrific steering feel, as and, you can throw that car around and have a lot of fun with it. And it drives like a very, very sporty car. I don't think there's an electric car that drives as well as the I-PACE. It's absolutely fantastic and engaging to drive, And now with the next generation of electric cars, we're looking for the next generation of driver enjoyment and experience and how we actually build on that. That's something which is, we're still working on it. I can't give an answer now because, we're still doing it. But how electric appears in the most sporty cars is a really interesting challenge.
As you're speaking, someone somewhere is listening to you and writing software that's going to give us those sounds and clicks and whooshes, because there's so much.
We have done some synthesis and noises, and I-PACE also experiments with those, and there is something about that a little bit. I don't know, but it's at the same time, we want everything in the car to be genuine. So we got to work on, that. We got to really work it out. We played with sounds and things like that, and in a subtle way, it works quite well. But we want a genuine, engaging experience when you drive one of our cars. So we've got to make sure we work on that and make it something in that. A connection to your heart is so important.
Oh yeah, always does have to be like that, and that's any car, frankly. I have to say, personally, for me, the sound that you get when you push the throttle down was actually a really engaging and fun sound. So yeah, I know different people think differently on it, but I like it. 2021 model year. What sort of tweaks or changes, if you will, can we expect on the car that comes to India? And what have you been doing with that at the design studio?
Well, the car, it's got little subtle changes to it as we go forward. There's better infotainment systems. We've done little subtle upgrades to the car, just to make sure everything about it is a bit more livable with it, and it's easier to use the car. You feel more confident about charging it and things like that. And particularly the PV system we have in the car in terms of the interaction with all the electronics in the vehicle is very, very good now, very, very strong. The interior, it's another area where we really are different from the competitors, really, in that Jaguars do have a very warm and an environment which suggests a lot of warmth and intimacy, a bit of a cockpit feel, and our new infotainment systems, they're very, very engaging, very, very nice to use. But it's also very important that, we don't put everything inside the touchscreen. We still want that driving experience. The eyes on the road is very, very important. That you don't get distracted. You don't have to keep looking to a screen for every single function. So that's important to us. And just that it's all about that driving experience. That engagement is so critical for us.
Oh, I'm thrilled to hear that. Of course, it sets me up on the next question in a sense, because all this experience with the I-PACE, the tremendous amount of attention and the accolades that it has received worldwide, and then also now the feedback that you've been getting from customers. The car's been around in the market for a little bit in different parts of the world. What does all of that mean in terms of the work you do from here on?
Well, we are going to be fully electric and fully committed to that. I think sustainability is more and more important for us going forward. I think we are a brand which wants to create the right balance with the environment, and it doesn't want to have a negative impact on the world. It's not good for us in terms of our environmental credentials. It's not good enough to just say we're electric. We have to look at how we manufacture our cars. We have to make sure we create our cars in a CO2 neutral environment, and we need to look at every single component. Where those materials come from, how we produce them, how we create as little waste as possible. How we make sure our cars are recyclable, how we just do, we don't transport, components backwards and forwards across the world. The electric bit is the first part of the sustainability story. We have to create the whole story now, and we need to make our cars, electric cars need to be lighter and more efficient as well. So there's lots and lots of work to be done there. So I-PACE has been a fantastic first, almost like a test bed, an experimental car for us. Like some of the, a lot of the best Jaguars through history started out as experimental cars, almost like the XK120, XJ. These were experimental numbers, the X's. So the I-PACE is very much our sort of pioneer in this area. But there's so much more we can do to make these cars even more sustainable, even nicer to drive, and even more beautiful. So we're very, very keen to get on with those, and we've got some fantastic things. I can't turn the camera around and show you what's over there because I would get sacked. But there's some beautiful things happening in the studio.
Oh, how I would love to be a fly on that wall, I can tell you. But no, I mean, good things come to those who wait. So I'm going to wait and see how all of this unfolds. But you got to promise me. I mean, you said some beautiful things are happening, but it's going to be everything that comes from the brand Jaguar. So weak in the knees, gorgeous. Is that a commitment that you'll always have?
Yeah, these cars have got to be stunning. I mean, these are going to be cars which, you walk down the street and they stop you in your tracks, that they just have such inherent desirability in them. You've just got to have them, We've got to have that, Always the best cars for our history, just stopped you in your tracks and made you look around as they go by, And that's what we want to create here, cars which are absolutely gorgeous to look at. Like you say, they've got to be really, you've got to fall in love with them as soon as you see them. And as creators of these cars, that's spontaneity, that love for the art of creation, is really important for us. My designers love drawing these cars, and if they're not loving what they're doing, they're not doing it right.
Oh yeah, I think that's absolutely true, and that's true of many different kind of genres and areas, but more so in terms of what you do. So. Julian, thank you. It's always great to see you and catch up with you. I had to tell you that, I've been lucky enough to drive the car on 2 continents. Can't wait to drive it here in India now because it is a car that still continues to take you by surprise every time you drive it. So can't wait to see people stopping in their tracks now here in India as well when the car comes in.
Yeah, they will. Absolutely. Great talking to you. And, I'm sure the car will do very well. It's a fantastic vehicle.
All right. Thank you again, and hope to see you really soon. As soon as all of this environment changes and we can travel again, I hope to be with you at the design studio.
Oh, I look forward to it. You can't believe. Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks.